Welcome back to our channel. If you've been watching, you know we've been staying in Amsterdam, but today we decided to take a private tour to tour more of the Netherlands. So we've had several stops and I'm just going to touch base on each one of them. On our first stop, we got a true taste of Dutch traditional culture. You park and you pull up into this community that has little greenhouses and a really old store, and it looks really cute. And I thought maybe they had preserved this land because it wasn't a historic site, but that isn't true. The government actually moved these homes from wherever they were and placed them here to make a community of them. And there are people that still live in these houses, so we couldn't walk into them, but they are super cute. And some people have chickens in the yard or whatever, but they're very well maintained. And then there's also a grocery store that's green, and I'm calling it a grocery store. It looked more like a candy shop or whatever, but apparently it's like one of the oldest grocery stores. So you continue to walk around, making your way to the windmills ultimately. But we stopped because we spotted some little farm animals and had to go see them. They were so cute. On our way to the windmills, I quickly learned that I made a bad choice in my wardrobe. Ladies, if you're gonna take this tour, you want to wear pants because the dress that I'm in flew up the whole time, so I was constantly having to hold it down. We were climbing later on, and so then I had to make sure that, my partner was behind me or underneath me climbing up ladders so nobody else was looking up my dress. And it is chilly because the wind is blowing, which makes sense because of the placement of the windmills. And so then I wore a jacket with my dress, and it was really more supposed to be there in case it rained, but it was so chilly that I had to keep it on the whole time anyways. So do yourself a favor and just wear pants this day or shorts, but trust me, you definitely do not want to wear a dress. Since I've already jumped ahead, let's just get there, right? The windmills. The one we actually got to tour is an older one. It was used to crunch up rocks. And we did actually get in there and see how the machinery worked. It is still running. I don't think they're actually doing anything with it other than having it as a tourist trap. But if you know me, I'm okay with that. And you did get to climb to the top of it. That's both good and bad. One, it's good because you get to see like the whole view of the land and you get to experience what it would have been like to have worked on one of these. It is bad because it is not as safe as it would have been had it been a tourist place in the United States, because the flooring is a little uneven, there's kind of small gaps, and the rails, in case you do trip and fall on this uneven flooring, are pretty low. I made a comment about it and the tour guide overheard me. He says, well, yeah, because people here don't sue like they do in the United States. I'm not sure how much truth there is to that, but just be careful when you're climbing. Once we climbed down from the windmills and got a little bit more history of that, we made our way over to where the stores were. There were a mixture of stores for things like jewelry or hot cocoa or coffee or whatever, but then there was another store where they make the wooden shoes. There was a live presentation of a guy actively carving the shoes. You could stay and watch that, or you could walk around the shops and buy souvenirs, but it was pretty neat to walk through this area. After walking around the shops and kind of walking back through the town, it was time to head to our second stop. Here it was a cheese farm, and I don't think we really realized what we were signing up for. You go inside, it's a pretty nice building. They show you a video and the history of this cheese farm, and you get to look down through a glass window and see the cows below you. After the video, you go downstairs where the cows actually are, and you can see how they're using technology to monitor the milk and how they actually are milking the cows. And there's like a little machine. It looks like your house robot vacuum, but it cleans up cow poop. So that was kind of interesting, but boy, was it smelly. It was so smelly. We probably didn't spend as much time in this area as our tour guide would have wanted or was expected of us, but we felt like we had spent enough time in this area. After seeing the robots milk the cows and clean the floors, it was time to head to their cheese making room. And there was even like a very distinct smell in this room, but you got to see different ages of cheese and how it's wrapped and how it's stored and the process. Then a person actually comes out and explains to you how the milk is turned into cheese. It's another presentation. From there, they move you into the store where you can buy the cheeses that they make on site, or you could try their different dipping sauces or other snacks and drinks. As we were leaving the store to head to our next stop, we saw these huge tanker trucks. They almost look like the ones that carry gasoline, and they actually showed up and were loading milk onto those trucks. So I thought that was kind of interesting to see. Our third stop was lunch. And because it was a private tour, our guide did give us a couple options on where we wanted to stop, but it was lunch. The food was good, and I'm just not going to spend a lot of time on that. Moving forward is our fourth stop, and this was a fishing village. And honestly, this was probably one of the more interesting stops for me because we got to walk the town, and there is a strip of shops and more modern places to visit or eat again if you hadn't eaten before. But for me, we were able to walk around and see the old church, and you were able to see the differences in ages of the homes based on the bricks. You could also see how narrow some of these walkways were. And some people lived in like what looked like would be a basement. You had to walk downstairs to go, but you get to see how this community lives differently than obviously the United States, but even Amsterdam itself. Because of when we got there, we had to wait for the next ferry for our last stop. Our guide put us on the ferry boat by ourselves, and I was like, this is interesting. He's like, oh no, just trust me. Take the ferry ride over there. It's beautiful. You're going to enjoy this part of the tour. And so we were like, okay, we'll roll with it. He's like, I'll meet you on the other side. So you're going to drive a car, obviously faster than this ferry's going to take me, but we should still get on the ferry. Okay. So we did. They sell drinks and snacks on the ferry. So, we re-upped on our supply. And we're getting really excited about like our last stop of the day. We pull up. And the port's cute. There's signs and they welcome you. But it just kind of got weird from there because the guide like hastily grabs you, shows you a few differences in the building and the cobblestones, and rushes you through this village and puts us in the car to take us home. I'm not sure if just because of the way that the ferry time worked out that we didn't have enough time on that last stop, or if it's always that way. But if it's always that way, I would rather them just take the fifth stop off. And we spent 30 minutes taking this ferry just to get rushed through another town. Literally, we were there for less than 5 minutes to the car and to go back to our hotel. I thought that was strange and honestly kind of a waste of time. But overall, we did love this tour. I know I'm being hard on Viator for the fifth stop, but the countryside was beautiful, and we are glad that we got to see a little bit of the traditional Dutch culture and not just downtown Amsterdam. Make sure you keep watching our channels so you can see what else we did while we were in Amsterdam. And like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our episodes to come.